I've had a security guard fully like kick me out, and I was like, man, just ask. I'm here to play. He's like, you gotta go. I'm like, just ask. Like,
Awesome. Well, I'm Adam, and this is about the two of you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new couple songs you just put out.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, I always start off first. Born and raised. Are you both from where? Santa Cruz?
He is like
yeah,
born and raised.
I'm born and raised. Yeah, my family has not left this town for 30 years. But
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So born and raised in
different.
Santa Cruz. What was that? I mean, I used to live in the Bay, or I'm from Southern California, but I lived in San Francisco Bay Area for a handful of years as well. And I've cruised down to Santa Cruz, which is a cool little spot. I've only really been to that boardwalk area, to be honest.
That's what everybody knows it for.
So what is it like growing up there? Kind of like a not rural, but it's kind of a small community, right?
It's interesting.
There's really not anything. Well, to say there's not anything to do is a complete lie. There's so many things to do, but it's more like if you don't surf, skate, or bike, then you're gonna have to find other things to do. But like, yeah, like all my friends, I grew up like riding everywhere, you know, like I know that town like the back of my hand. I can like ride it no hands on my bike, you know, that entire town. Like, so it was a lot of just biking around and like finding stuff. You know, Santa Cruz kind of started to get gentrified as I was getting older. So like I found the opportunities of kind of per se cool stuff tend to get more expensive and less fun and more protected. And so it's been interesting to see Santa Cruz get more wealthy and kind of safe over time.
Yeah, it's a very like sport oriented culture here. Like it's very like hiking, surfing, skating, like people are very active and all walks of life though. It's very like it's a kerfuffle of people. You can get so many different, like you can meet so many different people downtown in Santa Cruz. There's like a main strip in downtown area that like it's cool though.
All types of people, that's for sure.
There's a cool venue there. What's that place called? Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a cool spot. I was gonna say, it's kind of was a hippie town, kind of like a hippie town.
Yeah,
right?
It still is.
Yeah, and then like I feel like the money from like Santa Barbara, Ventura County, and Silicon Valley coming down, and more south middle California started coming up, and that's funny. Well, okay, so Paige, what about you? You said you weren't from Santa Cruz originally?
Yeah, I've kind of been all over the place. I was born in Colorado and lived there, like many areas. Like we originally were in like Parker, which is outside of Denver, and then we like bought this like tiny little condo. We lived there for a bit in Denver, like the heart of Denver, and then came to California. I was in Carmel, which is like Monterey.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Carmel's a beautiful town too.
It's amazing. And so
I think Clint Eastwood was the mayor of Carmel.
Yes, he was.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why did I not know that?
They just like so
he's famous. Give him a political position.
Right. Yeah. You're the mayor. And I think he owned a radio station there too.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. I'd listen to that.
Okay, yeah. So you're in Carmel. That's I don't know, not too far.
Well, now I'm
here.
here. I've been here.
But before you lived in Carmel for a bit.
We lived there for a bit, and I've been here for like probably 8 to 7 years now. So it's been a while. But I skipped around before I got here.
You're early.
Right on. Yeah. What about how did you get into music? I'll start with you, Paige.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah, I had a really close friend in middle school that I met when I first moved here actually, and her dad had a home studio, and that was like my introduction to the music world. I like really got into like Green Day, and just like all of these different circumstances happened, like having the studio and like really loving that band. It just like naturally kind of like fell into place that music was it for me. It was like kind of game over once. They're like, guitar, and I'm like, okay.
So did you teach yourself how to play guitar?
Yeah, I like for like maybe like 2-3 months went to this place, but I retained nothing from it. I like auditioned to like they had this thing called like house band, and I auditioned for it, and I was the only kid that auditioned and didn't make it into the house band. And
Oh,
it
bummer.
yeah, I know, it's really funny. It's entertaining looking back, but that was my like it was for the best. It was very like cover oriented, and I was young, but it was like kind of the tipping point of like wanting to be my own artist versus like, just kind of regurgitating. There's value to it, but just, taking that step further into like writing your own pieces to play it was huge. So it was needed to kind of like push me, encourage me in that, give me motivation to go in that direction if I didn't already have it. But yeah, I'm like fully self-taught.
That's awesome. You said they were doing covers, like
Yeah,
what,
it's
what songs? Anything that you were interested in, or you're like, no, I want to play some punk rock?
actually, so they do this thing where they'd like get a bunch, like a solid handful of kids. He went to a similar program actually.
I did.
We went to 2 separate programs, but
I did the
there's
Santa
similar-
Cruz one. She
Yeah.
did the one in
San Jose.
Yeah.
So we went to
Okay.
different ones. But they basically do this thing where they get like 25 kids or so, and then like randomly piece them together for each song and make a show that way. So you get like 12 song set or something.
Yeah.
And so like you play 3 out of 12 songs maybe. And
Okay.
We did it differently.
Really?
Yeah, we did it where you had one band and you had a set, and then that program would basically go to a venue and be like, have a charity thing,
See,
and a
that's
bunch
house
of kid
bands.
bands are gonna play. And so then basically they'd fill up a crowd with parents waiting to
Okay.
see their own kids,
Sure.
and then a bunch of
Like a
other
recital of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. You've been playing these songs for like 3 months, and then they're like showtime. And I don't have good things to say about the program in Santa Cruz, so I'm not going to say much. But yeah,
But yeah, my
Interesting.
first show was a Nirvana tribute concert. Like we did.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, it was super cool. It's like kind of oxymoron-ish and like in retrospect, but yeah, like I originally like started playing bass, and in that show they like were short of guitarists, and they're like, I was like, well, I have a guitar because my dad's a musician, and he has a Stratocaster that like he just has had, and I'm like, I have a guitar at home I could learn, and so like pretty much learned to play guitar through Nirvana's music, so that was cool.
That's your dad's a musician then?
He
Did
was,
you do it
yeah, he had
professionally or just as a hobby?
it was a hobby, but it was aiming to be more professional than that. Yeah, he's now like he's a firefighter now. He was a Navy, like he's a Navy veteran, and so like kind of in between that transition, he explored music for a little bit.
That's cool. He must be super stoked for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's a great dad.
and he's so proud.
He's very yeah.
That's killer.
We're both lucky. Like,
No,
he's
for
like,
Man is an amazing chef too. Andy, I know you're watching this. We love you.
Oh, what does Andy cook?
Oh, all sorts of kinds of
And
things. He made chicken tortilla soup last night.
Oh, there you go.
That was our first meal back. We were like we've been out on tour or like tour. We kind of like we're lucky. I have a lot of family in Southern California, so when we go that way and we do shows, we can like couch surf a little bit and hang out. But yeah, it was like great to come back to.
Oh, I saw, or maybe you guys are coming up on playing, or you did play. Did you play Carlsbad?
Yeah,
we did.
Okay.
That was
I'm from San Diego. That's why when I saw that, I was like, oh, cool.
Are you still in San Diego?
I'm in Nashville now. I
Oh.
moved here about 2 years ago, but yeah, I lived in San Diego almost my whole life, and then in San Francisco Bay Area for a while, and then back to San Diego now, Nashville. But yeah, I used to do radio, so I was on the radio for a long time. But yeah, San Diego. When I saw Carlsbad, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. And then I figured we'll talk about the Volcom thing, but I thought they were in like Costa Mesa.
Yeah,
They are. Yeah.
Oh, they are.
That show came around because I did this music camp called Soundwall last year, and I met this bass player named Christina, and she has a band down in Carlsbad area. And so we were coming down, and I just hit her up. I was like, hey, let's do some shows. And then the first show we did was a Halloween concert, and it was awesome.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we've just been like posting up at their community center down there, and so the drummer for Christina's band, his dad works for the like, so we just
He works for the city.
DIY, like we bring the PAs and stuff, and they help coordinate the date and time, and like it's really fun. It's a fun
That's
show.
amazing.
It's like one of those like rec halls, like also used as like a church, you know, like
Yeah,
it's cool. And we're gonna do many more shows there, hopefully, because
that's rad. Because there's not a whole lot of all age venues in San Diego anymore.
Yeah.
especially like the outside area, like Carlsbad. If you go like 20 minutes outside.
Yeah, if you're in North County, there's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
going on. Right. But even like, I'm trying to think, like when I was growing up, they had like a teen center called the Epicenter that would do shows. And I don't know, the Che Cafe, I don't know if they still do, but they're
Oh
at
yeah, Che
UCSD.
Cafe is still around. Yeah.
Okay, they had there, but there was a handful of other ones, Club Xanthan, and I feel like when House of Blues came in, Selma's still there.
Yeah.
Like they, the House of Blues and the Observatory and those venues kind of just overshadowed any sort of local venues like that local bands could book a Friday or Saturday night at.
I feel like what happened is like COVID really hit a lot of those bigger places though. And so now, especially like kids like my age and a little bit older, they're now looking for places that they can have shows and stuff because like they're not, 21 yet. A lot of these venues are still kind of coming out of COVID, so like some of them are only like partially open. Especially earlier, it was really bad. But like it's interesting to see it all shift once again.
Yeah, I hope they open up more all age venues because that's what my friends and I would go to shows all the time, and it was like even under 6. There was a club there that was 16 and up, and I remember turning 16 and being able to go and see bands. Oh my god, like this, but
that's how the Catalyst is.
Yeah, that is okay. Well, I feel like they only care at the Catalyst sometimes.
Well, I think they have to like say it, you know what I mean?
Oh, it's 16 and up at Catalyst?
It is, yeah. Or at least
some
of the shows. I think it fluctuates.
There's specific all ages shows, but like I think there's stipulations to make it an all ages show. Like minors can't leave and come back. I think that's part of it. I don't know.
Oh, like no ins and outs for them.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about the minor stipulations and playing in bars lately.
Well, you're still 17, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you got to deal with it firsthand.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a security guard fully like kick me out, and I was like, "Man, just ask. I'm here to play." He's like, "You gotta go." Like, just ask.
But Paige, you're what, 18? Is that what I saw, or 19?
Yeah, I'm 18.
So you still, even if you play a bar, you guys probably have to wait outside, right? And then they go, "Okay, come in and play," and then you can't get a pull. We're gonna pull you outside now.
It's a funny thing because of the way that we set up for our shows, like our gear and equipment, like we have to backline the kit because we use these bar triggers that mount to our kit to play the bass. And so like funny things will happen with that where they won't like let us in to help people figure out how to fire it and like weird stuff. It's kind of entertaining, to be honest, but it is like a like hurdle. But I feel like it's a rite of passage a little bit, as like especially at the age we are in doing music. Like I don't own Billie Eilish's like book, but did you see that she released this book with a bunch of pictures in it, and there's this picture from it, and it's her and her brother, and they just have like the X's on their hands, and she's like, "It was dreadful," and I'm like, "Oh, you read it too?"
yeah.
Like for sure. But yeah, but it's cool. Honestly though, like my cousin, like the family that we stay with is in San Diego County, and he's like every weekend he's at a show, and I think the scene kind of,
it's a lot of like
everyone works around it, you know what I mean? It's kind of cool.
I like that.
Like
it's cool to hear that it's doing things again, because I feel like there's a handful of years where it just kind of dissipated. When I'm much older, so it was like when I was there and growing up, it was bands like they're now Pierce the Veil was a band called Early Times then, and like those bands were coming up and be getting signed to these small development deals, and now they're massive. But it's like so cool. But those are the band, like the all age shows, and those are the bands that you would see in the local shows. And then it kind of, I felt like for a handful of years it just kind of wasn't as big of a deal. But it was also when the House of Blues and these other venues were kind of coming in and taking over. But I didn't get your story yet, Jax. Where, like, how did you get into music?
In terms of
Like
like
playing, you
my
played drums.
relation.
Like, was that the
Yeah,
first
so I
instrument you
guess
learned?
yeah, drums is pretty much the only instrument I can call my instrument.
Okay.
And I feel like my relationship with drums kind of started when I figured out pots and pans could make noise,
Okay.
very, very young. And then I started drum lessons around kindergarten and
Wow.
just kind of, kept going. But like in terms of my like relationship with music itself, it's just kind of always been around,
Mhm.
Like I just have many distinct memories of like driving my dad's 97 Passat and like he'll turn around and like sing a Bob Marley lyric at me and then like turn back around and keep driving. Like, there's like a lot of stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah,
Does,
music's just always been around.
does he
And
play, or do you have any other musicians in your family?
it's funny, no other musicians in my family. My mom, she definitely could be, and I think she'd be an amazing musician, but she never went down that alley.
Okay.
But I think that's where it came from.
Nice. And
Yeah.
how did then the two of you meet? Did you go to the same school, or
My
like,
mom works for Universal Audio, and they're local to Santa Cruz, and so
Family
I
friend,
yeah,
basically.
my mom
oh,
yeah, I was short of a drummer, and I had this show coming up that we had like guests flying out for, and I was like 2 weeks to figure out how I was going to pull off the show because I'd already kind of started the direction of the two-piece thing, and I'm very much so like don't want to be a solo artist, and so I was like I need at least like a drummer. You know what I mean? Like
uh-huh.
one thing to like be two-piece, but thing to be a solo artist. And so my mom put something out at her work while we were searching for someone, and he has a family friend that works there, and that's how we got connected. So like in 2 weeks he figured out like all the drum parts for the songs that we had out so far, and also the bass triggers for the songs.
That was the first.
We pulled it off. It was pretty like we just bit the bullet, like 8 hours of practice every single day. We're both like homeschooled. I'd graduated already. I
At the
graduated.
time, I wasn't homeschooled.
Oh, you weren't?
No, I was going to
just-
Cyprus. What's up, Dad?
We're on it. Hi,
Dad.
Dad. You're good. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, at the time I was in, that was
Well,
freshman year.
we
So
both went to like schools. There's a lot of cool options for like supportive options in the area. I think it's because of that like hippie nature, but there's a lot of like charter schools that kind of like help orient you to still graduate, but
Uh-huh.
mine was
allowed to
5 days a
focus.
week. That was. I'm in something much better now, but that was a pretty school environment.
Okay.
That was an interesting one. Yeah.
But now you're a little bit more flex.
Yeah.
when it
Now
comes to that.
I'm doing independent studies now, and
Oh, there you go.
yeah. Love
Okay.
it.
So you had songs then, Paige. You already had a band, or was it the same project that you're
It
doing
was
now?
the same project, yeah. So I worked in that home studio I mentioned a lot, and so like
Mhm.
from age 12 to 16, I shifted schooling systems, but in the beginning I was like every night like till 2 in the morning working in the studio, just kind of aimlessly like writing. But when I hit high school, it was apparent that it was like not a hobby anymore, and so I went to this charter school in the area called Coast Redwood, and I was able to like dual enroll at the college here and graduated my junior year. Like I was 16, and so like that summer I graduated, I recorded that first record, and yeah, so it kind of
Oh, that self-titled album is all just you.
yeah, I had another drummer at the time, and I have a really close friend that lives in Tennessee, and he's a phenomenal guitarist. I was just like trying to pull in all the music people that I knew and that were interested, but he was in college. Like that was very short-lived. So it kind of went through a couple of, you'll see like maybe some old imagery with 3 people, and so one of them is the old drummer, and then another is my good friend David, and yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Wow.
it kind of, but it was pretty much like the songs were like pretty developed, so it was a easy transition to have like someone come play a part, and then you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Um,
And And so you just hear the songs, Jack, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. I want to do this.
Basically.
Like,
Well,
okay.
yeah, we got an email from, shout out Mark also. That's who put us in contact. He basically sent an email, I think, to my mom and was just like, hey, there's a band looking. And my mom sent it to me and then sent me Paige's number. I hit her up. Yeah, I heard the songs. I was like, oh. And I've done a few, like, done the cover band thing before. You know, I've also been in like a few little projects with my friends in the past. None of them went nearly as far as this / out of a garage, you know. But so I was kind of familiar with what I have to do to learn songs relatively quickly, you know. So I heard them, I was like, okay, sick, you know. And then I came up, practiced the next day, and I was like, oh, I also get to play bass triggers along to this. Okay, this is where the challenge is going to be. So for most of it for me was just learning the triggers and how to work that into the song.
Yeah, I was because I'd never really seen that happen live before, and I was watching the video or your guys' set from the Volcom thing.
Yeah.
And like at one point the song, like this, you just hear this bass line coming in. I was like, whoa, like, and I was looking to see if there's somebody kind of standing off the side playing, but that makes sense how that works. So is it something you go in beforehand, Paige, and record the bass and then it just shoots, you can just hit it?
Yeah, we pretty much, I mean, we take like I take all the isolated tracks from the studio sessions, and from there kind of define which pieces are necessary to like build the whole song, because you have the limitations of only having like 6 triggers to work with. And the other limitation is like you have to think about, if you mess it up, you want to be able to fix it as quickly as possible. So we keep the samples pretty short, so that way if like something weird happens or it gets mistriggered or like
it's off time or something
with all the technical, you know, so
yeah.
if you can come back in and not lose bass for like a whole song. It's only like 10 seconds, so we have to kind of define. Normally it's like 2 triggers are for the verses, 2 are for the chorus, that kind of thing. But we take
that's
the studio
interesting. That's a lot. Yeah. And then Jax, you've got to kind of follow along with what you're playing, obviously the drums, and you're setting the tempo for the whole song. And then you have to kind of punch these other things in. And then
exactly,
if the bass isn't in complete time, you turn it off until the next thing comes around.
Or you can sometimes kind of limbo it just enough for like that few seconds. And then we play along to a click track now, which is sense. Honestly a very, very helpful thing for us, you know, because now we just have like a very, you know, it's all set. It makes it easy. Yeah. So I just kind of listen to the click. If the bass is a little bit off, then I'll like try and get it right with the click right when it comes around, you know. But it's very fun. It's kind of like I'll be like, okay, 3 4 3 5 6 2. That's like the code for the song, and then I'll be playing. I'll be like 3 4, you know, like
yeah. So you can kind of exactly know what triggers and when to set them off.
Yeah,
exactly. It's kind of it's.
She's got the same thing.
Yeah, I do. It's I have a like little MIDI board in front of my mic stand that I'll do the other like keys and like the guitar parts that I'm not playing, so get kind of fills in the sound.
Yeah, it sounds like a big band, and it's just the 2 of you all.
Yeah, it's a 5-piece sound. Yeah,
that's cool. That is really cool. So with these new songs, you put out an EP right after the self-titled album.
Yeah.
And were you in the band at this point then, Jax, with that EP recording?
Yeah, that's right when I joined.
Yeah, so he's drumming on all those tracks.
Oh, okay.
He is where it's me and then up.
Okay, got you. Awesome. Yeah. So writing with, you know, Jax, the 2 of you writing together, must have been a bit different than the way you wrote the self-titled album, because that one was done by you basically at the studio.
Yeah, I mean, it was a seamless transition. I was really like lucky that at the studio, the home studio, when I was working, it was often with at least one other person, and like musicians would come through and I would just kind of like linger. And like Jay Lang, he used to be a drummer for Primacy, works with Bob Weir a lot. Like he's one of the musicians that like would come through every now and again, and I like
Wow.
would get time to like jam with him. So I had the experience under my belt to like operate with other musicians, which I'm super grateful for. I think it's not done as much anymore like that, and it's a super valuable skill set. So like it was so natural. Like with the EP, the songs were like decently established when Jax came in, so that was a good segue into like what you hear in the new release, where we like fully wrote those together.
Yeah, you had nothing, so it started pretty much from scratch with the two new ones that just came out.
Yeah, and honestly, we spent so many hours rehearsing just for like our shows that we're well connected. Like it feels like we've known each other for like 10 years, and it's been like a year and a half. Or at least that's how it feels.
I can relate. I've spent much of this past year with her.
Yeah, like just cranking it out, rehearsing, jamming, playing their instruments.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And touring now. I mean, doing little like West Coast runs, it sounds like.
Yeah, little DIY things.
We got to get out further next.
Yeah, there you go.
And
I love that you have that. I mean, the sound of the band is definitely like that 90s, like early 90s sound. I mean, like a Hole or, something similar. Even Nirvana, like when you mentioned Nirvana, it has that vibe to it, I feel like, but it doesn't sound like those bands.
Yeah, that's what I love about this like niche that we're finding is like my favorite thing about our art is like rarely do people pick the same like two artists to compare us to. It's really cool, and I've been like exposed to a lot of new music because of that, because people will compare us to like names I don't even know, and so it's really fun to like watch what people hear in our sound like come through. It's cool.
Wow.
But they tend to be in that little era of like
that like early 90s.
Yeah.
Or late 80s, I guess, if you were like like a Sonic Youth maybe, or like what bands, now I'm just curious, like is there a band that you can remember that somebody said, oh, you guys remind me of whoever, and then you went and checked them out and you'd never heard of them, and you're like, oh wow, like I love this band?
Actually,
you get all the people like, remind me of this.
We have a lot of like Latin fans, and so I've been exposed to artists I would literally like never find, and like one of them that comes to mind is Fresno. Like that's been a band that I've heard, and now I don't listen to them as often as I probably should, but I like know their name and relevancy now, like, and they're a good band. It's been really cool. Like there's this one song, I don't even know the name of it, but it's like one of my favorite songs, and it's in a completely different language. I have no idea what they're saying. And it's like, it's a really beautiful piece. I would have never found it on my own,
We've got a lot of really cool people that like our music from like South America. It's
really nice.
There's like a big audience for rock music down there. They eat it up. It's awesome. Like some of the most positive people like in our comments and stuff are usually from like Brazil or somewhere. A lot of Brazilian people. But like South America as well is just like so many dope people. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. I feel like it's good to see that rock and kind of like that grungy sound is making a comeback.
We get a lot of people DMing us, do a tour in Brazil, please come to Brazil.
Most bands do. I feel like it's really cool. Their culture has a thing for art,
the music.
It's like it's cool.
Nice. Well, so the two new songs, Karma is the songs that or that's one of the two, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a 2-song EP. Is that what you guys are calling it, or like a?
Yeah. I've been calling it like a double single, but I don't really. I kind of like make it up on the fly. You know what I mean?
Okay. And you guys are releasing that with Volcom. Like, tell me about that relationship and how'd you guys form the partnership with Volcom?
Yeah, it's really crazy. I actually have like a skateboard on my wall from the show, but it's
I'll get the skateboard.
It's a cool skateboard. I had this trip planned to see Pixies and Pearl Jam in London, and
oh wow,
Volcom was doing the merchandise for that show. That's the wrong skateboard. This is the skateboard that they gave me. No,
that's cool. Is that before it got cut? It's just like the whole.
Isn't that the coolest thing? It's like this is my pride and joy of a piece. Like all of my skater friends, I used to skate, and a lot of my friends were like, you gotta cut it and write it. I'm like, no way.
No way. I used to
That's
skateboard
so
too.
cool.
You're like, why would I cut that when I could just buy a
So
deck
cute.
for like $30?
For real. I'm like, write that one. This one stays on the wall, but it's here.
Oh, it's
That one. Yeah.
I'm scared to get that out.
No, you can do it.
Alright.
It's anyways, but they're doing the merch for that show. My friend waited in line. Like, he's a huge Pearl Jam fan. It's actually David, the guitarist I mentioned earlier. We like
Oh, rad. That's awesome.
the skateboard that they did. So this is like one of the cool pieces.
That
Pearl
is
Jam
sick.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool deck. The front's cool too, the little like.
Oh, wow. Hyde Park. Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
It was a great show. But my friend David, who was the guy I mentioned earlier that was a guitarist in the band for like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
He's a close friend and we like travel for shows. Huge Pearl Jam fan. He waited in line at their pop-up shop that they did before they did it, like the day before the real concert. And they're doing this thing that you could win tickets to see a private acoustic Pixies concert in the same building that night, like later that night. And that's the only way you could get tickets. And so he didn't get the tickets, but Ryan and his friend, who's this guy who works at Volcom, he's like the kindest person. He like walked out with the camera. He's like, we're sorry. His buddy had a camera and he had a mic. And he's like, we're sorry you didn't win anything. But here's an LP. And he gave this LP to my friend. I got one later on, but he gave that to my friend and he was like, if you guys come back later, like we'll let you in. And my mom was there. I just woke up. We met David to go pick up the merchandise because we wanted to help carry it back. And yeah, my mom was like, she's in a band. And so that's kind of like how it all went down. It was so like random and bizarre, but that's how we met them. They have a thing called Volcom Entertainment that used to be kind of like a label service like super independent for their bands. Like Ryan's band, The Line, was on there. And they're kind of like, they're trying to bring it back and like kind of rebrand it a little bit. So they're calling it The World According to Volcom Entertainment. And each month they'll feature an artist, and it's just like a way to support the community. Like it's not like a label service anymore, but more just a way to like help focus on like artists. And
Yeah,
they're just great people.
they're so like very generous, like incredibly generous. Like they were just like, we love your music and we want to help, you know, like they've been starting this program, The World According to Volcom Entertainment. And like they're trying to step away from like the label side of things and more just help the community, which they like. And I love that, you know, like you don't see many people, such companies, like really just selflessly giving back to the community.
Yeah,
like,
they don't need help, right? I mean, they're in every skate shop in Nordstrom or whatever from here to, you know.
Yeah,
exactly.
The more I learned about them as we began to partner with them, and I just got really invested in their brand because of just who they are. Like they're just, everything about what they do is really cool. Like even their motto is like true to this, and it's like following that passion, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I resonate with that so much, and I'm like so grateful that they took the time to connect with us and saw something in us enough that like we've got to where we are today. Because it's like they're some of my favorite people are over there.
That's cool. Like yeah, that's amazing. And thank you both so much for taking time and doing this. I appreciate it.
Oh, appreciate you, man.
Sorry, I've been like rambling. I hope I didn't.
Oh no, not at all. That's the point of this. No one cares what I have to say. I'm curious. I got one more question before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice, if I can get an answer from each of you, for aspiring artists.
Yeah.
Aspiring artists. Advice. Okay.
Advice.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Trust your gut no matter what. I'm still learning, so don't listen to me. But also, trust your gut. Stage fright is simply your brain releasing chemicals, and it is scary, no denying that, but it's just your brain releasing chemicals. And I don't know, you don't have to listen to as many people as you think you do. That's mine.
I dig it. What about you, Paige?
I would say enjoy the ride, because I feel like everyone says like be true to yourself, and there's so much value in that, and I think like I don't think it should be overlooked, the value in those words, even if they're like said a lot. Like, so enjoy the ride. I think everything serves a purpose, and if you're listening to yourself and searching for that growth simultaneously, good things will happen. Like, as long as you're being true to you, it will your dreams will come to fruition, you know what I mean? So
It'll all fall into place.
enjoy the ride.
Bringing it backward.